Hi and welcome back to my channel. This month I'm reading books written by people I know, but kind of. Whether I know them personally, which some of these will be, or I know and have been following them for a while, I'm super excited to read some more niche and special books. But this first book doesn't necessarily qualify for that. This one is Broken Throne by Victoria Aveyard, which is the fifth book for the Red Queen series. There are several of them, and interspersed throughout you can see these darker pages are actually formatted like journal notes or research notes that have been compiled by Julian. The Red Queen series, if you haven't read, it's 4 books about silver nobles who hold all the power and have almost like magic powers where they can control different elements and use that to rule over the Reds, which are common-born people with red blood. A war kind of ignites and Reds start to rebel against the Silver rulers, and it's 4 books of war and politics and fantasy stuff. This book is a series of novellas that was put into a collection. Like I said, the journal entries from Julian, I found them very interesting. I thought it kind of bridged the gap in the lore of like where everybody came from, and also gave us some really great insight as to what happened after book 4 ended. Queen Song, which is actually the first one in this book, is from the point of view of Corinne, which is Cal's mother. It kind of goes through the events from her diary that we saw a glimpse of in book 4, but really gives you a background of who she is, where she came from, how she became queen, and you get to kind of see her unravel and learn why she became the way she did. This was really interesting, and I thought it was a really good insight and a really good use of a novella to give us some context that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten and didn't really have a place for in the story, but allows you to connect a little bit more to Cal and his family. The next novella, Steel Scars, also takes place before the events of all 4 books. Steel Scars is actually from the point of view of Farley as the Scarlet Guard is forming, so we get a glimpse, see how it rose up in the Lakelands, and then also the first initial infiltrations into Norta, and then it shows us from Farley's point of view how she finds Mare and also how she finds Shade, which I really loved getting to see a glimpse of Farley and Shade's relationship because we never really got to see that in the books. The next novella, World Behind, it actually takes place like right in the middle of all the wars and is from a point of view of 2 characters that we've never seen or met in any of the other books. It shows a Silver royal kind of escaping her fate and the war and going down through the disputed lands, otherwise known as the Free Lands, and kind of gives us a glimpse into the people of the Free Lands, which we never see throughout any of the books. So I thought that was a really unique point of view and kind of adds to the world building of this series in general. The other 3 novellas take place after the events of all 4 books. First one being Ironheart, which is from the point of view of Evangeline as she wrestles with having to abdicate her throne and find her place in Montfort when they're trying to rebuild everything. I think it shows a lot of her character maturing and how she's grown. We saw that a little bit in book 4, but this really expands upon that, and I think it changes our perspective of her because she started out as such a villainous character, and even though we saw a little bit of growth throughout the series, this really solidified that and shows that she's really changed into a much better person. All in all, I liked her a lot better after reading this. The next novella, Firelight, I think is how the book should have ended. We should have finished with this at the end of Warstorm, cut out some of the politics, cut out some of the boring stuff. This is how it should have ended, because I would have felt way less disappointed with the ending if we had gotten this. I think it's, let me see, like 50 pages. Honestly, this should have been the ending. It's basically Mare recovering from everything that happened. She takes like a 2-month hiatus and then comes back and is trying to figure out what she's gonna do now, what her role is gonna be. It also shows her and Cal reconciling, coming back together, and figuring out what they're gonna do as a couple from now on. If it had ended like this, I would have probably rated book 4 a lot higher. I think I'm so glad that I read this just because of this one novella in there. Made up for so much of the books that I initially was disappointed in. And then the last novella, which is Farewell, shows another point of view from Maven right before he faces his sentencing and stuff, when he's visited by Cal and they kind of like get to talk as brothers one last time. I stand firm in the belief that we should never have gotten a Maven point of view. I think it really cheapens his character, and he would have been way better of a villain had we not gotten to see some of what was inside his head. But I did appreciate part of this novella, which was Cal getting to go and like say bye to his brother's grave, like after everything that had taken place in the Firelight novella. So it's kind of like the end. Overall, I'd give this book probably a 4 stars, especially as a novella, although you can't really call it a novella because it was like 460 pages, so really it's book 5 of the series. But for a collection of novellas, I thought it did a really good job. I thought it added a lot of information that we wouldn't have otherwise got to the series, and expanded upon the world building, gave me the ending that I really wanted for the series, and left everything on a really good note for me. Now I can finally say that I finished the Red Queen series and check off such a popular YA fantasy series from my list. Okay, if you did not know, this is Just Friends by Haley Pham, who's actually one of my YouTube inspirations. She is a booktuber she's been around forever. If you don't know her, I feel like everyone watching probably knows her, but she wrote a book and has been writing a book for the past couple of years, and it just came out. So this is actually gonna be the second book that I read this month. I'm super excited. It's a rom-com. Best friends who were more than friends, but then their romance shattered and now they haven't spoken in 4 years, and they end up working together. It's so cool seeing the people who reviewed the book and wrote the quotes on the back are like some of Haley Pham's friends and favorite authors that I've seen videos of her read their books. So it's just so cool to see a book by someone who I've watched forever, and now I get to read her own book.
I finished Just Friends, and I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to. Overall, I thought the writing itself was pretty good. Like, there was a major theme of grief that I did not expect throughout the entire book, but I thought it was written really well and conveyed emotions and the up and down, like, inner turmoil that happens with real grief. So I thought that was done really well. I thought the personal struggles that both of our main characters had were real and valid and good reasons why they were struggling and having to work through things. I do have a few complaints because there were some times where they almost communicated too well. I was like, I don't know that this is really realistic, that people are this open and vulnerable and honest with each other. Like, it was really healthy and very direct way of like kind of working through conflict, even though it was kind of portrayed as like this was difficult for the characters to talk about, but they still talked about it very easily. And then there was one part in particular when it's a second chance romance. So when they first get together, there's a part where the guy kind of confesses his love and like reveals why he feels the way he feels about her. And I read it and was just like, there's no way a teenage boy talks like this. No boy talks like this, but much less a teenage boy. And that was like the big drawback for me. The rest of it I enjoyed. I'm very go with the flow with romance, so I don't nitpick any of them too hard. But it did feel rushed a little bit in their reconciliation. Like, it was supposed to be this long period that they had gone without talking to one another, and then all of a sudden they see each other like once or twice, and then they start dropping the wall and like letting each other back in and being friends again. And that part was a little unrealistic to me. I feel like we could have had a little more time, a few more interactions before they got to that point. But I did absolutely love the ending. I thought it was super cute. It felt a little checklisty, like here's all the best parts of a romance and let me put it all into one place, which, I mean, as someone who loves romance, I don't mind. It just also kind of felt like a lot. My favorite part of the book was the way that grief was described and written, and the way that she was able to put emotions onto the page and kind of conveys someone who's processing all of those things. It did feel very personal, and I don't know if I feel that way because I know who the author was more than I typically know about authors. But I think if I read it as someone who has no idea who the author was, I probably wouldn't have picked up on those things. I think it's simply a case of write what you know, and that's where everyone starts. That's totally fine. For someone's first book, honestly, they killed it. Like, this was a great book. I gave it a 4 stars. I enjoyed my time reading it. It definitely tugged at my heartstrings. Like, I felt myself getting emotional at some of the points throughout the book, which I was not expecting from someone's first book. So props to Haley Pham. Honestly, I enjoyed my time with it. I think if you want a fun, easy, quick read, like, it's a good one. The next book I'm going to be reading this month is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. This is the 3rd book in the Emily Wilde series. I absolutely adore this series. I love these characters. I love this world. It's a very nerdy take, like fantasy, fairies, that sort of thing. There's a very minor romance subplot, but the way it's written, you can't even call it romance. I just love the way these are written. It's a very cozy fantasy. And I've been waiting for this one for a long time because I waited for it to come out on paperback so it matched my other copies, and I'm so excited to dive in. I absolutely ate this up. I feel like I read it so fast. Everything told through the lens of this scholar who tries to keep emotions out of it, but like it's just so wrapped in this story. I don't even know how to describe it if you haven't read it. It's so different and it's so good. As the 3rd book in the series, we've kind of followed this progressive story where in the first book, Emily Wilde is researching these hidden fairies in like a winter wonderland type scenario, goes through a bunch of trials, has to get rescued by her academic rival. In book 2, she is helping him find the door to a fairy kingdom, and they go through a bunch of things through that. And in this book, there is a curse on said kingdom, and so she's helping him figure out how to rid the realm of this curse. And it is just so heartwarming and adventurous and fun, and the creative ways that the author comes up with to rid them of problems and to kind of find workarounds toward things, because everything's very tricky and fairy, and you have to be very creative to overcome a lot of the obstacles that they face. And it's just such a good story. This might be one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. As a whole, the series is a 5-star. This book, I think I am gonna give a 4.5. There are certain aspects of it that I absolutely loved. None of it really lulled for me. I'm just not having that 5-star feeling. And I don't think each of these books individually gave me that feeling, but as a whole, the series is definitely 5 stars. I definitely want to reread this series at some point. It is one that I will pick up again in the future, and I highly recommend to anyone who enjoys fantasy or cozy reading. It takes a minute to get into just because the style of writing is so different from everything else, but that's what makes it so interesting, and that's why I enjoy it so much, because it is so different in such a great way. I also love the way the author like builds in this scholarly narrative throughout the story of like the characters reference other stories or tales that are known in this world, and she writes in footnotes of things that they're referencing and that she would have found in research, like as a professor. So you can see here, like she's telling us a mini story like within the story. It really builds this fantasy world she's created without needing a 500-page book. Well worth the wait. I really wish we were getting more from this series. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the case. If you're looking for a cozy fantasy, I highly recommend this series. Now for the next book I'm reading, I'm actually reading a book that my brother wrote a couple years ago. I haven't had the chance to read it, and now's finally the time. It's not published anywhere, unfortunately, but I'm excited to finally read the full thing because I've only read parts of it. Okay, I finished my brother's book. This is it. It's Legend of the Ageless, and he printed it out and put it in this binder, so my family's literally passed it around and read it. And I loved it. I thought it was such a creative idea. Essentially, there's a boy who has to fight in a war that breaks out when a rival kingdom attacks his city.
And in the process of all the chaos, he comes across a group of men who are conducting like espionage, one of which is someone he works with. So he ends up like partnering with them and learning more about their organization, which is a secret guild of people who can manipulate time in objects, and so they can advance or regress the progression of aging in everyday objects and use them as weapons, for example, like different metals. And their whole purpose is to defend the world from those who use that same power for evil. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so fun. I reflected a lot on story building and writing and elements of that, which I thought was super fun and cool to be able to do with something that my brother wrote. Overall, I really enjoyed Legend of the Ageless. I'm hoping he will edit and continue writing. It's such a cool creative thing, and I love that someone I love is also passionate about books and writing and storytelling. My next book is also by someone I know, and it is Contingents, which is the first book in a series that my friend Paige Green is writing. This is one of the first copies that she actually published herself, but it is coming out published on Amazon, I think, and it's available on Kindle. So I'll definitely put the link below if anyone's interested in reading it as well. Two main characters are drawn together by a betrayal and are having to fight kind of the system that they grew up in this dystopian land. I'm really excited to read it, give it a shot, and support my friend. Okay, so I actually ran out of time this month and I did not finish Contingents, which was the last of the books I was reading by people I know. So unfortunately I did not get to all of them, but that review will be in next month's recap. But I did actually finish one other book this month, and that is Single Dating Engaged Married by Ben Stewart. I listened to this one on audiobook periodically throughout the month. This was a study I did with my Bible study, and I really liked it. I feel like it gave me the words that I didn't know how to describe what I'm trying to do with dating and relationships. It was really great advice in how to navigate relationships in a healthy and godly way. And I also really loved how he described dating as a process you move through rather than a stage that people rest in, because I think a lot of people sit in dating as like a phase of life when really it should just be an evaluation tool you use to find someone who you want to be with long term. I think it's a really great read for any stage of life that you're in, but I think I definitely got the most out of it being someone who is unmarried, and I would definitely recommend to anyone, whether you just read the book itself or do it with the accompanying study like I did, because it just is really well written and there's a lot of good sound wisdom in it. Anyway, those are all the books I read for April. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.